Oh, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be at this hour. Your program, online with Pastor Toks, coming your way from here in Calgary. We are here again, bringing you Lighthouse on Christian parenting. Well, as usual, but before we go into that, I just want to say this. Do you know where your kids are? Do you know where your kids are at this moment? No, physically, that's good for you. But do you know where they are spiritually? Do you know where they are emotionally? Those are the questions we should ask ourselves always. And I believe as we so I would say that let's just go straight to the programming for today. I have so much to say. How are you, my sister?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good to have you again. I hope you have a pleasant
Yes, thank God.
week. Here in Calgary, it's not overnight heavily. Quite cold in our area
Oh,
and everything
good.
white. So I wish I'm in California now,
Well,
really. This is
maybe I would love to be where the snow is right now.
are you sure? This is the time of the year I don't like Calgary. I tell you, it can be very, very cold.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But aside that, it's a lovely place.
Wow.
When it comes to winter time, wow. Which I'm in California
Hmm. I wish I'm in Canada right now.
now.
So you see, another man's meat.
Yes, 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 yes. Another
Yes.
So I used to live in
Wow.
I've
Wow.
tasted it too.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, which one do you prefer?
you know, when it is not put this way, cold here in in Calgary, in minus 40, minus 30 times. However, it's a dry cold.
Mm.
Dress for it. As people say here, no bad weather. There's bad dressing.
Mm.
So if you
Mm.
dress for it, the weather can change suddenly. I still like it here. I prefer this one to the hot weather.
Wow.
Go on to our discussion. I know Pastor Yinka and Sister Vivian may be joining us soon and progress with that discussion. We started a very, very interesting discussion last week. Want to be able to continue that discussion today. Sorry about that. Okay. We're talking about uh, creating boundaries. How do we make sure that we create boundaries? I remember why people can just intrude. But looking at that So we have three categories. We have the porous boundaries, the boundary, and we have the rigid boundaries. All right.
Yes, you are.
Category and look at the scenarios. We can say it's an heavy boundary or porous boundary or it's a rigid boundary. That's the discussion we were asking last time. Sharing information. What kind of information can you share in a boundary? Hey, I want to take another item on your list. I believe you have that with you, right?
Yes, I do.
No. Or saying yes to people. And the way I want to approach this today is that if I say that, okay, porous boundary, a person have difficulty saying no to others. Healthy boundaries, the person saying no when it is needed. Rigid boundary, the person is always every time. You know. So let me ask you, uh, have you had reason to say no to somebody before?
Yes, I have. I can't hear you.
Are you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So my question then is, for those that are in the porous boundary, they find it very difficult to say no to people.
Yes.
The question is why? What are the factors that make it difficult for them to say no?
Just as we said last week, most individuals that fall under porous boundaries, they have this empathetic nature. They are the ones that fall under, when you're categorizing people, you fall under the empathetic.
Okay.
Like, yeah. And because of that, people tend to take advantage of them. I lived in that porous boundaries for years. And I did sat down and ask myself why. And I realized that I don't like hurting people. I sometimes will prefer to carry the pain than to hurt individuals. And I said it last week. I used a typical example of my life experience where, assuming somebody needed an eye to see, and I would give those eyes out without thinking twice. And it's afterwards I would remember that, oh dear,
You need the height too.
I need this eye too. So that's a serious porous boundary. Whereas I could have said, okay, you need an eye. Let's look for avenues and channels how you can get a replacement if you have an eye defect. I'm still helping out without causing pain or hurt for myself. So this is where I now begin to set the healthy boundaries. Rather than giving out my eyes and then realizing I need it, I had to get a new coffee mug after giving out the one that I bought. So, and it's just typical of me. What I am growing and I'm learning. We're growing every day. So most people that find it difficult to say no, I'm speaking for myself. Maybe others might be because of pride, but I think with experience, with interactions with individuals, it's just because they don't also, it's also a childhood trauma that has refused to heal when such individuals have had to deal with pain, the pain of people saying no to them. So they don't want others to go through that pain.
Okay, so one way of looking at it, because you don't want people to feel hurt. I try to look back at myself growing up, and I also realized that I deliberately want to put myself in a position where I want people to ask me for something so that I can give it to them. Because at that time I was looking for acceptance.
Mm.
So also I feel that people can be in the position not to be able to say no or not willing to say no because they are looking for acceptance. And they feel that if they are accommodating to people, they want to give things, so it's not convenient for them. But they feel that if they do it, people will accept them into a particular group or whatever. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. That is very interesting because while you were talking, I just started seeing the pictures of our kids, and I
Yeah.
realized that most of our kids fall into that category because they want to be accepted. They don't want to be the odd one out. And so instead of saying no, they would say yes, even when they know deep down in their heart that they should have said no. So you're right. So people do different things for different reasons.
But it's not because I actually this happened to me when I was younger. Not because I don't want to hurt anybody, but because maybe I want to be in a particular grouping. I want to be part of them. So they ask me for something, which I know maybe if I give them that thing, my parents will beat me. I will still go ahead and give it to them because I don't want them to feel that I disappoint them. You understand? You know,
Yes.
and that happened my teenage. And I just want to how do we now as parents, press this point to our kids, make sure that they don't fall into this trap, either because they 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 don't want to hurt anybody or because they want acceptance. What are the practical things we can do to help them in this area?
First and foremost, I would always say that we first need to start leading by example, because the example I shared of myself with you, it was so bad that even my kids knew that. Like, I would give her something, then I would say, okay, we need to go and buy it in the store. And they're like, we have it. And I'm like, no, I gave it to this person. And they're like, why do you do that? you know? So we need to start living by example. First and foremost, Sister Vivian said something last week. I also saw myself in that picture where we between siblings, where you must make sure that none of them have that feeling of entitlement.
Okay?
I am a bad boundary crosser. I like feel that if your sister needs something and you have it, you must give it. And I just realized that it doesn't work that way. The individual involved, the child involved, needs to be able to make his or her decision whether she's willing to give or not. But the warped mentality of an African parent is like you must give. It's so bad that they say if you're the firstborn, you must take care of the other siblings.
That's
These
true.
are all.
Are you
This
the
is where
firstborn?
all
Are you the
this.
firstborn?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm the
Okay.
third. I'm the third. But I tried playing that with my kids, and I realized that it doesn't actually play out well. And that was why when Vivian was talking last week, it really struck a chord in me that you must not, you know, let the children feel that they are entitled to all their siblings' stuff because they're siblings. So they have a right to say no and they have a right to say yes. Anything that you will do that would hurt you emotionally, physically, psychologically, please don't do it. Set that boundary. Your mental health is a priority in a life that we are right now.
And I think what you were saying that day was that create that culture at home that people say it is normal to say no. You know, when they go out, you don't have to tell them, but because they feel that environment normal to say no to somebody,
Yes.
and they can practice that culture.
Yes.
I used to give a practical example. That was my kids growing up. From a very young age, toddlers. I
Mm-hmm.
started making them understand that I can say no to them. Comes from them trying to suck their fingers.
Mm.
So most parents, in order for them not to allow their child to cry, you know, they allow it. Okay, just let her sob so that she won't cry, you know, and the child develops that attitude or develop that impression that okay, if I cry, they will say yes to me. Okay, so that means that they not trying to hurt people. They develop that in them as well. Okay, I don't want to hurt somebody, and I give the person. But I normally insisted, for my kids, they want to suck their fingers. I said, no, 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 you're not sucking your fingers. They will cry, but I will not allow them to suck the fingers. They know that there are things that I will say no to. You know, that is something that I feel that they grow up with. You know, and when they start growing as well, if I don't want to give you anything, I say no, I can't give you this. But what I make sure I do as well, tell them the reason why I cannot give to them. Because one thing for you to say no to a child and not explain the reason and why you are saying no to him or her. So if we develop that kind of culture at home where we make people understand, make sure to understand that okay, there are things that you can say no to that you can say yes to. They will develop that relationship as well. Good at. Let them have a self confidence in themselves. That's another thing. So when they don't have a self confidence in themselves, their ability, what they can do, what do you say to them about them every day? So that's what made them to be vulnerable outside because they want acceptance outside. And because they want acceptance, they want to say yes to everybody. Then they create that. But what if a child has a boundary, always saying no, 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 no? How do we solve that problem? That's another extreme.
Yes.
Another extreme, yeah.
Before I answer that question, like say something about that, I love the fact that he said that we should instill self confidence in our children.
Yeah.
That actually is a powerful tool that they can use to deal with having porous boundaries. And I do that a lot, especially because I have seen the impact of bullying. It's that
Yeah.
spirit of bullying.
And
I
it's good to mention that because we are going to come to bullying in that area because
Yes,
one of the
I can't
reasons, yeah,
I can't stand it because I have watched and listened to stories of bullying over time, and I realized that most victims of bullying are actually very good people,
yeah,
intelligent people, and the devil just found vessels to use to
and
take that.
And you
good
know,
thing that they have away from them.
and you know what? Just to add to what I'm saying, I realize as well that most people that are bullied, they're being bullied because they have something that the people that bully they don't have, and because
That's
they want them to feel low about themselves, they start bullying them.
that. That is what I just said. That most of them, 98% of them, you'll find out they are intelligent.
Yeah,
Most
yeah,
times they're the best in their class. They have a great future. And the people that are bullying them are those that have serious inferiority complex, that they don't know how to deal with their complex, and they want to project it on others. So
that's true.
I so much hate that thing. Like I literally told my kids, if anybody tries that thing with you, let me know, because you will see me in your school immediately. That your school would know that a parent came to school today. I can't give that spirit an inch of space. There was a time I was very busy, so my daughter was coming back with school bus and told me about some guys, saying some things like a little bit of bullying. And I told her, I said, I will come to your school. I will park my car and join the bus with you. That's serious. I don't cross my boundary. I don't cross boundaries. And I don't want to cross my boundaries. But there are things you would do, and you will just see the quiet me come out. Just as Jesus was a lamb and a lion, you will see that dual personality in me. So bullying is something I so much hate with a passion. With all due respect to those that are watching, I can't stand it, because I know that it comes to steal and
Let me
kill.
ask you a question. Full disclosure: I feel bullied somebody before.
No, no. I told you I can't stand that
When
spirit.
when I was young, I don't know why I did it. You know,
Yeah, and it does not mean that I'm perfect. Maybe perhaps I just I've learned to use the grace of God in that area. So I don't have issues with, because I'm not typically someone that is envious or jealous. I don't know. I think it's my upbringing, and my Christian background, that has really helped me. So if whatever you have today, I would rejoice with you. I will be so happy with you. I believe, again, like I said, maybe because of my Christian background, I believe that there's nothing you have that the universe and God must have allowed you to have it. Yeah. So maybe that line of thought and thinking has really helped me to handle my own maybe any traits or seed of envy that I want to come out. I don't envy people. I don't. I might have just one car. You might have 10 cars. I will dance with just with you. I would go out to have fun with you in your car, because I believe that you have it because you're destined to have it.
no,
This,
my own those days actually it's born out of two things. Why I bully the two things actually, not because I envy anybody. I was very small,
mm,
age, and I don't want people to kiss me, so I try to make myself big.
mm,
What I do,
mm.
I do myself big. At the same time, I want to feel, I want my so those are the reasons why I did that. Those things
So there's always something that triggers that
as a young. That's it.
bullying.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
Because I've
um,
experienced before where people at myself so that people don't down. You know,
yeah, and that's why as parents we need to instill confidence into our kids. I do that a lot. I refer to my kids as prince and princesses. They're naturally intelligent. but I still like encourage them more. I talk to them, not with pride, but just to let them know that they are enough and that with God on their side, they can achieve whatever they want to achieve in life.
There's something I used to tell my girls. Not to have four girls. Eh? I tell them a lot that I love them. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. You know, and use the language "I love you" to really impress you because you're
Mm.
again and again and again and again. You're beautiful. So if I've told my children that every time, that statement will not make them feel out of this world. They've not had it before. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
They,
Yes.
they understand, they value themselves. They understand that they are beautiful the way they are. So you telling them that will not make them to be impressed about you or they fall for you.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to go back to my question now. Pride is very rigid, difficult to break into. Because that's the extreme of it as well. How do we try to because the parents just build a fence around.
Yes, that's where the balance between the porous and the rigid comes to play, which is the healthy boundary. And it says you are able to say no when needed. The rigid boundary says no to others most of the time. I would say that sometimes people that do that is because they're untrusting of others and they're very guarded. And you can't also like blame them like that. It might be life experience.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
I I tell you today, I am just finding my balance. I'm just building my healthy boundaries. I was I was in the porous boundary for a long time. Then I moved to rigid boundaries.
That's what I want to say because when you move from porous, there's every likelihood that you go to registrate.
Yeah, yeah. And then I would like I'm building healthy boundaries now. So most times people that have been betrayed in past times um and have been taken advantage of over and over and over again because they have difficulty in saying no. When they find themselves and they decide to start maintaining boundaries, there's huge tendency that they're going to move straight to rigid boundaries, which is saying no
That's
to
true.
others most of the time. I was talking with my sister at one point in time, and I said, "Oh my God, that guy must really see me as a dumb person. To think that with all that he or she has done, can just come back to my life and say, forget about that and let's move forward without discussing the issue." And also myself said, Modom, go. I don't know how I had carried myself that somebody would think that way. And I realized
It's
that,
because of the impression the person has
yes,
over
you're
time.
soft, you're tender, you're Christian, you're forgiving, do you understand? So I just realized that I have to put on a very strict, rigid boundary. So I would always say that sometimes, even when you're on the healthy boundaries lane, you might also switch straight to rigid boundaries at times because there are some stubborn people because they used to, you know, they're used to you not being able to say no to them.
That's true.
So when you now come out and say no, it's like it's a matter of time. Let's keep pressing the button. Let's keep pushing the button. The person is going. he or she is going to like give, you know, give up and give way. So when for being able to maintain a healthy boundary so that you can move from being rigid, because rigid, if you're not careful, especially I would use a typical example of someone who you have started having suicidal thoughts. You can't afford to say no to people, even if you cannot talk to individuals or close friends. Every country that you find yourself, there is provision to handle such suicidal attempts and yet keeping your information confidential. So that's a typical example of rigid boundaries when you know that this is going to be very, very, very destructive. It's going to have a negative, high negative impact. Then you need to speak out. You can't say no at that point in time. Then people would ask you what's going on with you, and you keep saying no. And you know that you're going through depression. You know that you're hearing strange voices. Then you can't afford to be in the rigid boundary lane.
Yeah, but I agree with you quite well. But friendship now about
I
someone
can hear
is.
you though.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
If you have a situation whereby a child is uh very close, you know, and he or she does not want to relate with others, because he's so close. I don't look for the word now, but for the situation that child may not be able to maintain a relationship too rigid. You know, what can we do for such how can we help that child to be able to be receptive to others? Because on the extreme
So,
now, it's not having anything to do with anybody because it's just close.
so if you are a
I
parent,
do like an introvert, for example. It's an introvert.
okay, extreme introvert. So if you're a parent and you notice that with your child, with your family members, or maybe at work, people that you counsel, if you notice that, one of the things you can do, the first attempt that you can do, is to create an atmosphere where that child can trust you. If you trust someone, there is each tendency that you would lay, you bring your, you know, you're being guarded. You lower how guarded you are towards that person. You would bring your walls down. You will not even know. But if you trust someone, you would easily lower your guard with
Okay,
that person.
okay.
So build a level of trust with that child. Let that child know that he or she can trust you with whatever information that he or she would share with you. If the child says no, if you're a mom, just say, don't tell dad. Please don't tell dad. Don't tell, for now, don't tell mom. Say, okay, let's go ahead. Of course, I'm not saying that at the end of it all, if you have to manage the situation, you might. But at that moment, let the child find trust and safety in you.
Eh,
Yes, so that he or she can open up to you.
you brought something hard now that I agree with you.
Okay.
Because when a child say, "Don't tell that," I feel that as parents we can have about that issue with an agreement and understanding that the partner must not allow the child to know of it. not aware, and later he or she gets to know that you are aware. I don't know how that can.
So this
Yeah,
is where it's a hard one. This is where we can use discretion.
question. Okay.
Yeah, so you can use discretion where the other parent might have to hear the information, but might not at that moment
Yeah,
speak to the child
of
concerning,
course,
so
of
you can
course.
get more information from the child. And sometimes it looks like, we're in a system that is kind of rigid and funny and give power to teenagers. In America, once you're 18, your parents doesn't they don't have to hear what you discuss with your counselor.
Yeah,
I mean youth counselor, yeah. And they speak to clinicians. There's a lot of personal things. And they will tell the clinician, I don't want my parents to hear, and it must stop there.
same thing. Yeah,
The mom, yeah, the mom, because we whatever we need to do to get the child to speak. Yeah, you might after the child speak and opens up totally, then you might tell the child, you see, look, I'll have to mention this to your dad. I'll have to mention this to your mom because we're in this together. And as long as that issue is being dealt with from an angle of love, the child would understand. But at that point, we need the child, he or she, to open up. And we need to provide, there's something called a safe place when it comes to counseling. Try and get every child, every individual to reach that safe place where they can open up. Yeah.
Let's go to another. I can't hear you.
No, I didn't say anything. I
Okay,
was, yeah.
let's go to another point on that point here. Say overly involved in others' problems. That is porous. That is,
Yes.
person wants to be. If anybody has an issue, he wants to be involved. She wants to be able to help. She wants to be able to get engaged in it. That is porous. Every boundaries here is support others without being too involved.
Yes.
Okay, and then the third one, which is the rigid one, detach from others' problems. Coco Chabele, if I may use that.
Oh
Can't
my
that thing.
God. This is very interesting.
So
Overly involved in other problems, support
yes,
others without being too involved,
yeah.
detach from other problems. See, there's just one is to the extreme, another to the extreme, and then one to the balance. So I would say to our children, it's a world where people are actually detaching from others' problems. Yeah, it's a world, but I would come back to my Bible that tells me that I should carry, let's carry one another's burden, this and this and that. I would say that it's still for us to create balance and know when to stop. Um, let's assume that someone is going through an issue. You have to be careful not to get deeply involved and find yourself swimming in
Problem yourself.
yeah areas where it's just like you want to save someone drowning.
Yeah. You know how
You
to
know,
swim.
some people have tried saving someone drowning and they themselves have had to go.
I remember a story, very moving story in Nigeria.
Okay, I can't hear
Beach.
you. Once you shift from the mic, we don't hear you again well. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I was talking about the fact that there was a guy who beach. Okay, saved 7 people. He was going for the eighth person. That's why they drowned. Covering it, but he himself lost his life in the process. That's an example of what we're talking about. Involved in what others' activities lead into something else. But I believe that I it comes from the compassionate. Many people are too compassionate and just turn off their eyes from some issues. I can be of help, you know. And in doing that, they sometimes expose themselves, take advantage of that situation, being aware that that person is so compassionate. When they have issues, they go and meet that person. Can you help me with this? And before you know it, can't go to something they shouldn't be. I can give examples. Let's assume that somebody uh, does not have a child, for example, in school.
We can't hear you again.
My God, this mic is okay now.
Yes. Is you are shifting a little bit from the mic. You
So
might have to just stay there.
am I supposed to carry everything? What I'm saying is that if a child, for example, have a friend who is not as, and you are trying to help that child, that friend, what level can you help that person without putting yourself into trouble? If you say, okay, let me help this person, you can do classwork together, you can do that together, but beyond that, you can't help that person. But I've seen situations whereby people try to help their friends in school when I was back in Nigeria as a teenager. And in the process of doing that, in the exam hall, they were trying to help the person. And they find themselves in trouble. Not because they're a bad person, but because they don't want their friend to fail. But they get involved in something they should not be getting involved.
In fact, that is serious porous boundary.
Yeah.
Where you decide to help your friend to write a paper, that's a serious one. That's where you get yourself into trouble and then you drown in there.
Like empathy.
Instead of you helping that person to, do the exam, why don't you find ways to help that person? If the person has issues in a particular subject, look for someone that can teach that person. There are other ways you can help resolve the problem.
I agree with you. That's how it should have ended. But you get to the exam hall and the person is crying. I'm going to fail this course. I'm going to fail this course. And you say, how can I help? So, Pastor Yika, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So I mean,
can you hear me?
Pastor Yinka, yes, we can. You're welcome.
Okay.
So that's a typical example of overly involving yourself in other people's problems. And for the sake of our teenagers, watching, another example is when maybe perhaps one of their friends have issues with their parents.
Yep.
And the parent says, look, you can't stay in my house and all that. And then they want to come to you and say, Mom, the parents are very too strict. Can you allow, the child to stay in our house for, that it's a no. I would say, okay, is it something I can reach out to the parents on, and they might just say, I mean, typically they can say no, some can say yes, but those are the help I can provide. But I would not allow you to sleep over in my house when your parents pushed you out of the house, because I don't know why that was done. I would rather look for a shelter for you. I will get the authorities involved. And if I have to pay for somewhere for you to sleep, I would pay. But I will not directly have you under my house. That is healthy boundary. So I'm not detaching. I'm not going to that rigid boundary. area, and I'm not being porous. I'm not detaching myself from your problem.
I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah, but I'm not dipping my hands into, I'm not dipping my whole being into your problem. Overly involved in your problem that can cause me, issues later.
Inka, welcome. What we are discussing is that we are looking at the it's overly involved, that's activities. That is creating the porous boundary. When you don't know when to say, okay, help you, always open to say, okay, that's a problem. I'll go to there and help the person. What are the scenarios and how can we, support our children? Know the boundaries and set the boundaries for themselves without getting too much involved. That also can hide to the issues that we are going through. Do you hear me?
We can't hear you.
Hear him before, right?
Yes, we can't hear you now.
Anyway, so it's just for us to be able to understand what's the limit. Where can we say no? This is two examples you have given are very valid examples that relate to teenagers. Academic work.
Yeah, we must know where to draw the lines.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes.
I thought last week we were going to talk about is it the healthy boundaries or extreme? What's the other one? The extreme end. Rigid.
Rigid, yes.
Because that's what the Pastor Toks said. He said we're going to be picking one by one. But I knew that there's no way we can just stay one lane without
yes.
You know what we're doing now? We're picking one point after the other. We have just dealt with no, saying no to people.
Okay.
We are now moving to getting involved in people's matters. Looking at it from
across the board, right?
The board.
Yes.
For porous, healthy, and rigid.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay. So I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the talk. I'm enjoying. I just came in. Sorry, I tried all I could to do. Was many moving parts. Thank God.
I understand. I knew that
yeah.
if you could not make it at that time.
You know, I've not rested since our friend came.
Wow.
Okay, good to see you. I
Thank
you. Able to call you before today too.
It is well.
To put that microphone, we need to lay hands on it too.
I don't know. See, it was working well before. I don't know what happened.
It has never been like this. I was just wondering what's wrong. I think it's multi-directional. Why is he acting
it's
like
multi-directional? So I'm surprised that whenever I move my head,
you put mouth like this, just going up and down. Until you put mouth like this.
Yes, I think that it needs concentration because once it shifts, we can't hear you again.
We need to lay hands on it.
African parents.
Leave that one. Anointing still there.
African parents.
Anointing still there. Oh, thank God.
Okay, let's move to another point. The other point I have here is accepting others' opinion. Quick to accept others' opinion. That's a porous boundary. When you have, when you value other opinion, own your own as well. You know others completely. That is the extreme. How do we handle that situation when people are so receptive of others' opinion and they just I think that this has to do with self-confidence as well, if I'm right.
Yeah. And in real life situation, there are people like that don't have opinions, don't have their own personal opinions or views about some subjects. And those are people that people easily can influence. Yes. And I will bring it down to us as parents. Do you allow your kids to express their opinion?
Wow.
Because if you don't, then they will find it difficult to express it outside. As
That's
an
true.
African parent, we were not allowed to do that.
Majority of us.
Opinion, what is opinion? I'm paying your school fees, I'm paying your rent. You're joking.
You are not on the
You're
table.
really, you're really joking. That's the way we were brought up. Is it good? No. Was it harmful to us? Yes. Because most of us decided to, we carried that even to our marriages, which was very like narcissistic in when it comes to traits, because we were not allowed to express
Express yourself.
ourselves, and we're dying inside, we're dying inwardly. So do you allow your kids to express themselves? I had to adapt and adopt that,
Online the other way.
Thank you. On learning what I had learned. Allow your kids to even if it sounds dumb, allow them to express themselves, because that will build their confidence to be able to express themselves outside, not even in a world that they can toss different things at you. They want you to swallow everything, hook, line, no.
I think it's
Thinker.
to do with
Yeah.
when children comes to us and express an opinion. What is our response? How do we respond to them? Because sometimes you may not agree with what they say, but the way you answer back can either make them not to have self-confidence in themselves, or they can, based on that feedback, they can know how to express themselves. But if somebody comes to me and say, "Oh, Dad, can I do this in this way?" and I say, "How can you think that way? Does that make sense to you?" you know, you know, that person will think twice before she comes to you next time. When you say, Daddy, can I do this? I say, respond, that's a brilliant idea, but can you think about it this way as well? You know, that gives you, that gives a person the confidence to say, okay, I tried too, but at least there's a better idea I can adopt as well. But I think the way we respond to their communication, their attempt to raise or their attempt to express themselves, give them that self confidence to be able to
Yeah.
outside their home environment.
Yes. And
But let me ask you a question, please.
okay.
Because it comes to the issue of discipline at home. How does discipline at home affect a child? I've been hearing a lot of issues around that.
What
Self
is
confidence.
up and on?
Off and on?
Yes. Maybe you should just use like a unidirectional mic.
Okay, what I was saying is that
Good.
there's
Don't move too much, sir.
there are occasions where people have said to me that, if you discipline the child too much, they will lose their self confidence. How do I draw the balance between disciplining a child and not allowing the child to lose self confidence?
Don't be extreme. There are some things that we do that are not discipline. They are just abuse, physical abuse. Like a
So
mother throwing a knife at a child
yeah.
because of anger. These things happen. Or throw a stool or small anything. Discipline involves you letting the guy know what you did wrong and why you are doing it.
Yeah.
When I was doing when we were doing children evangelism fellowship training, I learned a lot. Though I didn't have a child then. We were trained as a children teacher. And they taught us, you know, when I say, I will do this to you, that when you are threatening a child like that, without doing it, you are losing in that area. You know, you see, I will do to you. That child may grow up to be stubborn because you know that it's just a threat. Then when you want to do it now, don't be excessive. Girl, I'm saying, I hope I'm answering your question. So don't be abusive. Correct. There are many ways of correction.
Correct in love.
Correct in love, exactly. Rebuke in love. Okay, you know why I say you shouldn't do that. Let them see the reason behind it. At times, I think the problem is that we don't communicate, and that's the problem with, like we said, African parents.
I you know one thing, you know, just to that point, you know, I know you have shared before with me about my dad escaping with me
The chemistry lab.
in the chemistry lab.
Please place the microphone.
You
Bring the
know,
microphone closer to your mouth.
so if I may use that as a reference, you know, okay, what I'm saying is that when I was young, I used to play football, and sometimes I skip class so that I can come and play football. One day, my dad came to me, chemistry lab, and I was not there, and I was on the pitch.
You want to start, get to hear this thing.
Stay with me that day. But where I'm going to is that still did not stop me from playing football.
At the
That
chemistry
event,
hours. At
that
the expense
event,
of chemistry lab.
that event did not stop me from going to play football outside. Okay, but the day I stopped and became more focused was not because he beat me, but because he talked to me. He sat me down,
Mm.
gave me reasons why he think that I should not be focused on football. I should be focused on studies. And that day, the thing sank into me, and I was like, I stopped. I changed my focus.
That's it.
That's it.
So let's do more bringing our children to the table.
Mm.
Bring them to the table. You know, one thing I notice, I mean, I see a lot is that we are even undermining ourselves. Look at their generation now, digital age, everything. But if we are so self-opinionated about our methods, the way we were brought up,
Yeah.
we'll be robbing ourselves of what those children know too. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at it, bring them to the table too. Here they are fully. Our one of our senior pastors said sometime. He said you can learn from a fool. You learn from the wise to be wise. You can also learn from a fool so that not to be like them.
Yes.
So even what those children are babbling look like a fool. Still listen, say, okay, maybe at this age, maybe I talk like them too. Bring them to the table. Let's learn to bring them to the table so that will not be doing abusive, what we say, I think we are disciplined. Instead, we are creating a hardened person. Look at what Pastor Toks said now that is the beating. We all laughed at him, we mocked at him, maybe for a time, for a season.
Yeah.
He didn't play bait. Other time because the foundation has not been dealt with. But when it was brought to the table, the reason why he did that to you, look at this. You can, you know, they used to use about Shegwadebami as an example. That was an engineer.
That's true. And that was what
Exactly.
he used. That was what he told me. He said I should be like Odegbami.
You never told me
He
this
went
one
to
before.
school. I didn't tell you.
Mathematical Shegwadebami was an engineer, and the whole country knew about him. That's so get your grades, good grades, you can go to anywhere. So that one will sing that, you know, the violence, all the violence that majority of us are brought up with. The
Okay.
Lord will help us in Jesus' name.
That's pain.
Amen.
We are
You know,
fasting ourselves for this.
you're saying bring them to the table, bring them to the table. You know, it kept striking a chord in me, and that is stepping into healthy boundaries where you value both your own and their own opinion.
Exactly. Don't just look
And
at them.
that is very, very important. I think what has also like helped me when it comes to issue of expressing my opinion wherever I find myself, especially if I want to talk to my supervisors, if we're in like a meeting where you have management and all that, I will start with all due respect. That alone, all of them, I will see all of them turning towards me.
Exactly.
Immediately.
That's
And
wisdom.
it's not, yeah, I just realized that thing gives me, they want to hear what I want to say,
Yes.
And then also there's this word I use, I use the word my opinion, my subjective opinion. If you use that word, you're already telling the person you're communicating with that I'm open to your own opinion.
That's true.
Because it's mine, it's my opinion.
That's
So
true.
you're allowed to express yours. And I realized that I have very good relationship with people because of these communication tools. And so I also use it with my kids because, like I said, I want them to be able to tell me the nitty-gritty of anything that they're going through, because if I don't create that atmosphere with them, they would find a friend that might give them a wrong advice, you know? Yeah, give them a wrong advice. I know before, I mean, if you look at the way we were taught at 18, 19, you can't you tell your father you have a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Boy.
I mean, it's not even something that comes to your mind. You can't think about it. But you're in a culture where at 18, 18, America declares them as,
Yes,
yeah, at 18, America declares them as legal adults.
Yes.
Do you know how happy my kids were? Actually, when the boy became 18, he was so happy. Now, Mom, I'm an adult. I'm like, yes. As an adult, you have to start paying small bill and
Comes with
PG.
responsibility.
We just started laughing. He said, no. I said, he comes with responsibility now.
Exactly.
You mean that you just become adult like that?
It's not for free.
Not for free now. I was joking, but I just needed to know that. Look, but the adult thing, this is a system where adults, they have a right. I will never forget the day I took my daughter to the hospital, and doctor was like, "Madam, can you excuse us?" I wanted to talk to my daughter. It was strange to me, but I just realized that this girl is 18. They kicked me out of the room.
They can't tell you some things, yes.
Yeah, they kicked me out of the room. I'm like, oh my God, but that's the culture. So we must learn to listen to our kids. Let's share our opinions. Use live, situations and examples for them, but let them know that they have a voice. They do have a voice. They're allowed to speak. They can't just adopt people's opinion like that. You have to know that there's always something, there's a reason behind people's opinions. So you can't just adopt it like that. Value their opinion, but feel very free to express yours, and don't completely ignore others' opinion, like we are saying, because you won't have friends in this world. If people know that, you don't respect other people's opinion, you just want your opinion, in conversations, when you're communicating with people, when you're interacting, it's just always your opinion.
About you alone.
Sorry?
So it's about you.
Yeah, just about, life is not like that. Because people see things from different perspectives.
Yeah.
If you know the story of those 4 blind men, and they said that they should touch an elephant, and they were asked to define and describe the animal they touch. And because they all touched the animal from different angle, they defined an elephant from that angle. One of them touched the trunk, and he was like, oh, this is like a pipe, because trunk was what he touched. Some of them, so it's life. And I might be seeing life as being in spring. You in right now, you might be in your autumn, you might be fall for Pastor Tokunwo. So you must always put that into consideration, that we're all, defining life and the life situations from the way it appears to us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we need to stop now because of our time. We can continue. All of us was built to establish. I think we will be looking at it from the issue of avoiding conflicts.
Okay.
How that's that will be another
Okay.
interesting discussion.
Yeah. Can I say one thing? We in America, we have our Thanksgiving Day next week.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving, not
Yeah.
this weekend, America.
Yeah. No, it's next week.
Oh
It's a Thanksgiving week.
my!
So
Wow.
and Thursday is the main day with our
Painting.
family.
Okay. Well. Then I'm gonna miss you guys there.
Yeah. So
Okay. So
are you going to like just
I will do
can
another
we just
program next week.
okay?
Upper week we will not do the one.
Yeah, it's our Thanksgiving week in America.
I understand that quite well.
Yes,
There's a
so
big, it's a
full
big
house.
thing there.
Full house.
It's a big thing there.
Ah, yeah.
We
I
can,
will be down.
I
I'll
hope
be in LA too.
I hope I get my turkey too.
We will post it.
We'll
Post
put it
it.
in the fridge. No, you don't need to post it. When you come around, we'll put it.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, guys. Did you hear from
Okay.
Buki?
We didn't hear from her. Oh. I think she
Maybe she's traveled. Okay, don't worry. I'll call. I'll try and get in touch with her and start. Okay, this weekend I will try. Oh, don't hold me to it to start.
Okay,
I've
guys.
learned to use I will try now because I will try. Nothing you promised to call, you didn't call.